Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Basis Points, where we dive deep into the numbers and the stories that drive our economy and shape our world. Up ahead, the International Monetary Fund cuts its growth forecasts for the Philippines. Government officials defend the value-added tax on foreign digital service providers amid fears of a price hike in their services. Senator Grace Poe files a bill to grant a legislative franchise to internet provider Starlink, owned by American billionaire Elon Musk. And later on, we'll talk to Eric D., the co-founder and CEO of Sunny's, a leading Filipino brand that has evolved from an eyewear label into a diverse lifestyle brand, spanning cosmetics, food, and even global markets. First, let's take a look at how Wall Street fared overnight. U.S. stocks edge higher as calm returns to the market despite the risks posed by the escalating conflict in the Middle East. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500, and tech-heavy NASDAQ ended marginally higher, up by less than 0.1%. Now, this as investors found some relief in the latest economic reports as they looked past the simmering tensions in the Middle East. Data from payrolls processing firm ADP showed that private sector hiring came in better than expected in September.
Still good, and that type of data implies that we're not seeing an imminent recession, which is a great setup for markets, which is why we're slightly higher today despite the geopolitical risks that are going on right now.
Over in Europe, the main indices closed mixed, with the UK's FTSE rising 0.2%, still led by gains in energy companies. Germany's DAX dropped by 0.25%, while France's CAC finished flat. Here in Asia, equities are up in early trade, tracking the gains on Wall Street overnight. Japan's Nikkei 225 is up by 2.5% after the country's new prime minister dimmed hopes of another interest rate cut. Meanwhile, Australia's ASX 200 is flat. Now, in the commodities market, oil prices climbed further on growing fears of a full-scale regional war in the Middle East, with Brent oil rising 0.5% to settle at $73.90 a barrel. Now, another top commodity, gold, remains steady as stronger than expected jobs data in the U.S. dampens optimism that the Federal Reserve will implement another aggressive rate cut. The International Monetary Fund says the Philippines faces slower economic growth this year and next as high food prices affect consumer spending. The IMF, the major financial agency of the United Nations, is reducing its growth forecast for 2024 from 6 to 5.8%. The IMF is also cutting its forecast for 2025 from 6.2 to 6.1%. Their projections are below the government's target of 6 to 7% for 2024 and 6.5 to 7.5% target for 2025. The downside risks include slower global growth and rising geopolitical tensions. But on the flip side, better financial conditions, more private investments, and increased foreign direct investments could boost growth. Now, the IMF also suggests gradually easing monetary policy as inflation moves towards the central bank's 2 to 4% target. Senator Grace Poe files a bill to grant a legislative franchise to Elon Musk's satellite-based internet provider Starlink. Currently, Starlink has an accreditation from the ICT department as a satellite systems provider, allowing it to offer internet services across the country. However, Senator Poe explains that Starlink seeks to establish gateway Earth stations, which require a legislative franchise under the law. Now, these stations will enable Starlink to expand their services and provide internet access to even remote areas that traditional networks currently cannot reach. Government officials are defending the value-added tax on foreign digital service providers like Netflix and Spotify. That's amid fears that this new policy will ultimately lead to higher prices. Sujin Kim reports.
President Bongbong Marcos has signed Republic Act 12023, which imposes a 12% value-added tax on foreign digital service providers, or DSP. Amid public concerns that this could increase fees, the Bureau of Internal Revenue explains this law aims to create a level playing field for foreign and local DSPs, ensuring fair competition.
Hindi po dapat tayo mangamba dito sa VAT on digital service providers because unang-una napakaganda ng layunin ng batas. Yung mga local businesses, magkakaroon na rin ng magpapantay yung kanilang competition. Unlike before, they're at a competitive disadvantage.
BIR Commissioner Romeo Lumagi Jr. adds the law will only apply to companies earning at least 3 million pesos annually. Lumagi and the Finance Department also say this development should not be taken as additional tax, but rather an enhancement of the BIR's authority to collect existing taxes from these services. With Republic Act 12023, the government expects to raise over 100 billion pesos from 2025 to 2029. 5% of the revenue will be allocated to the creatives industry, while the remaining will be put to social welfare services and infrastructure projects. Educational service providers such as Google Classrooms and Zoom are exempt from the tax, provided they're accredited by CHED, DepEd, or TESDA. Lumagi says major DSPs like Netflix, YouTube, and Spotify are not raising objections.
They're positive about it. They committed na magko-comply sila sa batas na to at magre-register. So, we're hoping na magiging mataas ang compliance nito as far as yung mga popular digital service providers are concerned na mga nakalista dyan. We're expecting na maganda yung magiging compliance nila.
Meanwhile, the DOF issued a warning against violators.
The BIR has the power to suspend the operations or block the websites or platforms of these digital service providers if they do not comply with the requirements of the law.
For Senate Ways and Means Committee Chair Win Gatchalian, this law is crucial in ensuring the government can collect from foreign DSPs, which should have been done before. Similarly, Philippine Retail Association President Roberto Claudio lauded the government's move, saying it will substantially boost tax revenue for the government's social and educational programs. Sujin Kim, BNC.
We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
This is The Scorecard, where you score the latest news and in-depth views. I'm Anton Rojas, and this is tonight's roundup. On The Scorecard tonight, feel like you're somebody who has that desire. Tell us about your experience. Get ready for a thrilling clash, thrilling hostilities, and keep your eyes on the prize. Sports is our business, and business is our sport. This has been The Scorecard.
10 p.m. on BNC, the Billionario News Channel. At BNC, 12 noon doesn't mean break, but breaking news, biggest stories, and latest updates.
15,000 teddy bears to pay tribute to the children killed in Gaza. Tensions in the West Philippine Sea reaching the skies. Hong Kong reclaims its spot as Asia's top financial center.
Mai Rodriguez, Newsfeed at noon on BNC, the Billionario News Channel.
Welcome back to Basis Points Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange opened just a few minutes ago. Let's take a look at the initial figures. Now, right now, the PSE index is up, higher by 0.3% to 74.28. For the year, we're up by about 15%. Now, taking a look at the broader all shares index, that's up by 0.2% to 39.80. Now, as for the sub indices, all are trading in the green, except for the property counter. It's pretty much flat with a slight downward bias. Mining and oil counter, that's where we're seeing the gains. It's up by 1.6%. Right now. Now, taking a look at the foreign exchange market, the peso opens weaker from its previous close of 56.18, opening at 56.30 against the greenback. Now, our special guest today is at the helm of one of the most innovative homegrown brands in the Philippines, Sunny's. What began as a humble eyewear label has organically grown into a full-fledged lifestyle brand, now spanning cosmetics, food, and even reaching international markets. Under his leadership, Sunny's has become a testament to the vision, creativity, adaptability, and the power of diversification. Joining us today to share more about this remarkable journey is the company's CEO and co-founder, Eric D.
Thank you for having me, Maiki.
Okay, we're happy to have you, Eric. Sunny's is an amazing brand. What you guys have done with it in a short span of time, you just celebrated 11 years recently.
Yes.
And my gosh, how much have you risen from a humble eyewear shop? Now you've got over 250 stores locally. You just opened in Mall of Asia. Tell us about the growth of this brand. How did Sunny's first come to be?
Well, I guess if you look at it, just coming from the opening of our biggest store, what started as a 6 square meter store 10 years ago has now become a close to 600 square meter store. So I think that is a story of growth. In that store, you'll find every single category or brand that we've put up in the past 11 years. So as you mentioned, we started off as a sunglasses brand, eventually ventured into prescription eyewear, beauty, cafe, coffee, and recently this year we just opened a brand extension with Sunny's Flask.
Yeah, the growth has been phenomenal. A lot of people say don't do business with friends. Don't do business with friends, but you went the other way. And in many ways, you're going the other way, and it's working for you guys. You started this business with a couple of friends. You shared a passion for fashion. Talk to us how this group came together and how you initially started the vision for Sunny's.
Well, I guess if you look at our team, I would consider it the dream team. Like, I'm so lucky to be working with, I would say, geniuses in their own field. I work with my wife, who handles product innovation for the entire Sunny's group. I work with Georgina, who handles brand, Martine, creative, and Jess, who handles also our brand for the beauty business.
Mm-hmm. Now, why initially eyeglasses? You started out as sunglasses, and then the growth since then was extremely organic. One thing just kept leading to another. Talk to us about why you chose sunglasses to begin with, and then the pivots along the way.
I think when you look at our journey, it started with sunglasses initially because we saw the gap in the market. Like during that time, 10 years ago, you would see probably high-end or designer brands, but not a lot of very affordable, accessible brands that gave the entire experience. When you had affordable items or affordable sunglasses, you would usually find it in a corner of a store, not even highlighted properly, scratched in a swivel. What we did was to transform the behavior of people buying accessible sunglasses. And I think that DNA sprawls across all the brands we've launched so far.
Yeah, everything that you touch is cool. Right? You created a brand with a cult following. Eric, can you give us an idea of the breadth and scope of your operations at present? How much have you grown in these 11 years?
So for 11 years, as you mentioned, we are available across 250 channels, both locally and internationally. We have now 5 categories that we play around with. We've also grown our, I would say, our team from starting with the founders to now close to 1,500 individuals making Sunny's happen. 300 of those will be in the head office where we come up with our creative innovations, product launches, and potentially new brand or categories. Mm-hmm. We also have 200 doctors on board Sunny's for our eyewear business.
Fantastic. Talk to us about your physical and online reach in terms of physical retail channels and online retail channels. Where in the world are you?
So for online and offline, predominantly we are in the Philippines for offline channels. In Vietnam, we're available in close to 15 outlets. For our beauty brand, we're available across Southeast Asia through Singapore, Malaysia. China is also a very strong channel for us, and Middle East.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us about your target demographic, the age range of the people that love your brand.
Well, we are obsessed with our consumers, right? We are very strong in the 18 to 34 market. 70% of those are women. And I think when we look at our target demographic, these are people who are very exposed. In terms of they're always online, they travel, so they see what's happening globally and that they expect for local players to, I guess, offer.
Mm-hmm. Now, reception for your brand. When you launched Sunny's Face, your website couldn't handle the volume, and in 10 minutes, you sold everything out. 3 million views when you launched Sunny's Face online. Talk to us about that experience. What did you learn from,
that was crazy.
From that crazy volume?
We weren't prepared, to be very honest. Like, we didn't expect that much volume, thus crashing the website. So what we felt was a very aggressive approach of buying our initial inventory for a good 6 months. We basically ran out in a good month. And a lot of people were saying, is this a marketing gimmick that you guys run out? And we're like, no, we really have to close our stores
because we had honest to goodness.
Because we had nothing to sell. We even had to approach the malls and say, we're trying to control purchases. We'll only open from 12 to 6, and there will be a cap in the number of items people can buy. Right?
That in itself, the scarcity makes the demand even go up.
For us, it was a lost opportunity, but it was a good problem.
It was a good marketing, it was a good marketing tool too for
and
you guys.
And up until today, that is our fastest, the biggest contributor to our beauty portfolio, which is the fluff mat.
Okay, talk to us about that. How did that become such a best-selling product? I mean, even the name is so catchy. I like how you go in the directions that nobody else does.
When we launched the beauty business with Sunny's Face, a lot of people were questioning how we did it. We launched with 1 item and 9 SKUs. They were saying, how could you achieve the sales volume or your targets with 9 SKUs? But we believed in the product so much that eventually, we placed our bets with 1 product, and so far it's been our best.
Mm-hmm. With the steady growth of Sunny's, do you have any plans to take the company public or to open up the company to new investors?
Nothing's off the table, right? So if the opportunity comes, then we're always open to it. In fact, we've been meeting with a lot of potential investors that have looked at our brand, and it's been overwhelming in terms of interest. I guess when you look at the categories we play in, for sunglasses, we are the #1 sunglasses brand in the country. This is above all the international brands in the country. Just recently, we were also recognized as the #1 optical brand in the country. So in a short amount of time, we've been able to, I guess, showcase what the brand is all about. In the beauty business also, we are, I think, the only Filipino brand that has been recognized globally. We won Best Matte Lipstick under the Allure.
That's fantastic, Eric. You guys are a truly homegrown brand that has gone global. And talk to us about your business strategy over the next 5 to 10 years. What are the markets that you really want to focus on?
I guess when you look at our portfolio, we always say, we've only scratched the surface in the Philippines, despite having 250 locations. There's so much opportunity for us to venture into new categories, new product lines. And I guess the consistency of our brand and the way we showcase it has resonated to a lot of our consumers. So I think you will see a lot of expansion happening locally, but we're also focusing on a lot of Southeast Asia expansion. Mm-hmm. So we have a couple of countries that are in the works that we're planning to expand to, hopefully in 2025.
What are those countries, Eric?
So we're looking at Thailand as a big opportunity for us. We're already available in Vietnam, so we're going to be much more aggressive in expanding in that area.
Mm-hmm. How important is localization as you tap these new markets, as you go to Thailand and all these other markets? How important is localizing Sunny's while still maintaining that core pagka-Filipino? How important is it?
I think it's very, very important, right? I think it's one of the key factors you consider when you expand to a different country, right? We are fortunate to have partners that share insights on how different the countries are in terms of behavior. And this is something that we look into in terms of products that we launch or how we sell items. Philippines is very, I would say, dynamic and alive when it comes to the mall culture. In other countries, it might be different. So for example, in China, a lot of the purchases come from online. Right? And because of the difference in skin tone too, we had to come up with a different line that was specifically for the China market. In Vietnam, similarly, we had to change the format of how our stores would display items just to be able to adapt to the Vietnamese culture.
Market, right?
Yeah.
As you scale up, Eric, what are the biggest challenges you face?
Well, it's always growing the team. Like we have a very creative and young team. Once we expand outside of the Philippines, it's setting up. It feels like we're, again, a startup doing it from day zero, right? So those are the challenges that we are facing. But I think at this point, we're very confident that we can compete with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic. Looking ahead, 5 to 10 years from now, what does success look like for the Sunny's brand?
Success has always been for us, the vision since day one was to create beauty in everyday things. So I think when you look at Sunny's as a brand, we've now materialized in that vision with the categories that we've opened. Expect in the next 5 to 10 years for us to have more product categories, more brands that we will come up with. And I think when we look at expansion, we'll probably be across Asia.
Like what? What products? What brands?
There are a lot of...
In the pipeline, whatever you can share with us.
It has to be confidential for now.
Okay,
yes.
all right. Okay, some advice to all the entrepreneurs watching that would like to someday, like you, maybe start or grow a homegrown brand so well that, like you, they can tap the overseas market and really represent the country on a global scale?
I think I would say consistency with, pushing your brand. Since day one, we've always been brand building because this is the thing that differentiates us. This is the thing that people are aware of, right? And in the office as well, or within the Sunny's culture, we're obsessed with our customers. Like how we've evolved from our first year of business up until to where we are today has been such a dramatic difference. And we keep on innovating, evolving, adapting to a different customer behavior. And I think that obsession has led us to growing our community and our reach.
Well, looking forward to you growing your community and your reach, and we'd love to tell that story too as it comes along. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you so much, Maiki.
That was Eric D., the co-founder and CEO of Sunny's Studios. Now, before we go, a 24-year-old Irish student wins the James Dyson Award in Ireland, the national prize for 2024, for her device, Athena. Athena is a prototype for a portable chemotherapy scalp cooling device aimed at helping cancer patients keep their hair. Olivia Humphreys shares that her innovative idea was inspired by her mother's experience with chemotherapy. The Athena prototype is designed with affordability and portability, rather. So that's affordability and portability in mind.
It came from a conversation with mum and me sat down, and she was like, this was a really hard experience. This was a really tough thing I had to go through. Why don't you look at this? It needs development, it needs research. And she was so spot on. She came at it from a complete functional, you can do something here, may it be small, may it be big, that would make a huge impact, no matter what you do. It's a tough day, it's a tough process, anything could help.
And that's it for Basis Points. I'm Maiki Oreta. We'll be back tomorrow for more news on the financial markets and more. Keep it here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel, always on top.